Hi, this is JJ Green from Duceris, and I'm sitting here today with one of my recent graduates, Mr. Joel White, and his family, his mom and dad, Danette and Herman, and we're just getting ready to send Joel off to Stanford. So we're going to just have a short, casual conversation with them, and we're just all here celebrating today, all the good stuff. So I'm going to turn the camera this way. That is Herman and Danette. Hi, guys.
Yes.
I know we've been chatting here. Everyone loves talking in front of a camera, I know. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but just for our other fans out there and families that, need help with college, how did you first hear about Duceris? Because we've been together, working together, what, about 3 years? 2.5, 3 years, I believe it is?
2.5 years.
Yeah, about 2.5 years. So how did you first hear about Duceris and about what we do?
We actually went to a seminar,
Okay.
which was recommended by a mutual friend of ours.
Okay, beautiful. So someone you know had told you a little bit about us?
Yes.
Okay.
And we are very happy we did turn up.
Okay, so you went to one of the workshops at one of the high schools or one of the
Yes.
libraries or
At
something?
the library.
At the
Cool.
library.
And you got to hear me speak for 2 hours about all these wonderful things.
Yes.
Right? And that probably got your head full of a lot of ideas.
Right.
Then you decided to come see us,
Exactly.
and you engaged our services.
Yes.
What made you decide to come talk with us, and what was it that was your biggest concern, and what made you decide to work with us, besides my charming personality?
We were impressed with the presentation, and we somewhat felt very comfortable that you would be able to help us to pay for college. It's a lot of money, and we are very happy, we're very glad that we did.
Well, you had a good student, which is always my interest, because the better the student, I always say, the better the opportunity. What was your biggest key? What was your biggest concern when it came to planning for Joel's college? Was it getting into the right schools? Was it his careers? Was it how we're going to afford? What was your biggest concern? Because I know we were just talking here amongst ourselves, talking about how originally one of our first goals was Georgia Tech, which is a great, because Joel's looking at engineering and loves engineering. So that was our first conversation, was a school like Georgia Tech. So what was some of your biggest concerns that you were hoping we were going to help with?
Well, the average person, I would say, is of the opinion that private schools are so much more expensive than public schools.
And on paper they are.
And on paper they are actually. Not realizing that private schools don't have money,
I mean, they
or enough money. So
The
if you
private
can-
schools have enough.
Private schools
Private
do
schools,
have enough
right.
money.
Right,
The
but
public
not
schools don't. So
Okay.
if you have a good student, then it's in everybody's interest to get that student into one of these private schools.
Okay.
Luckily, we had a good student, and we also had good advice from Jay.
Thank you. I know when we first started looking at this too, the private schools were going to be pricey because you folks haven't a good business and you have acquired some assets over your time. So we did a lot of maneuvering, I believe, too, to put us in a good position. If I remember, we did some, how do we like to call it, just protecting our assets, and we made sure we put ourselves in the right position to maximize our aid, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Because when we first started talking about private schools, because of your original position, I think we were looking at having to invest
Yes.
a large amount of money. Over $30,000 a year was going to be our cost or our investment.
Yes.
Yes. So I know that working together the last 2.5 years, we made sure that we put ourselves in a position to maximize both need and merit-based aid.
Precisely. Yeah.
Right. We use that sheltering and protecting of assets.
Yes.
All right. And how did that work out for us?
Well, that worked out pretty well because, of course, we were able to, zero in on the funds from the private school since they did have the funds to, give us, so that we end up, in fact, paying less, much less, than if we had actually gone to a public school where they don't have money. So it worked out pretty well for us, and the investment part is good also because what we did, we learned that, if you can shelter your assets, then you can actually leverage the funds that come from the private school.
I like that word, leverage. We did that well.
Yeah.
And what we basically do is allowed you to protect and keep your assets
Yeah.
and use the financial aid formula and process to our advantage,
Yes.
so that we're able to use more of their money and less of ours.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little peek down here just to show our people some of our award. But the cost for Stanford was, they're estimating $68,000 this year. And our cost out of pocket, it looks like, is going to be just less than $10,000 per year. So we probably couldn't go to UF or any of the other state schools for that kind of cost either, even though Joel got Bright Futures and all his other great accomplishments. All right, so were you guys happy with our result? Did we do good by you?
We are very happy.
All right.
You
And,
did great. Excellent.
and I was going to ask if you would recommend this to other families, but I already know you have, because I know that we've worked with at least one other family that you brought to us recently, and I think their daughter is getting pretty much all of her tuition and fees covered too. So I know we did very well by them, but would you recommend people coming to our workshop and learning about the steps and then finding out if we can help them?
Yeah, we definitely would recommend
Most
that.
definitely.
All right, well, thank you. And their son is to my right, so Joel's now, we're going to swing around towards Joel. How we doing?
Good.
And let me see your T-shirt, because I was not familiar with this. Fear the tree. And turn around if you would, so I can at least show the fans what that is for. That is the Stanford tree. And would you explain what the Stanford tree is, if you know, because I had never seen that before.
Basically, it's just the unofficial mascot.
Okay.
And I mean, it's kind of a weird mascot to have a tree, so that's why the students kind of make a big thing out of it, and I guess boast about it a lot.
Okay. It's better than having some furry animal as our mascot. We have a fir tree instead. And if you'd be just so kind for 1 second, let's just amuse our sports fans. That is, and it has the Stanford tree right there
Yes,
on there as well. So very nice. All right. And Joel, a few years ago when Mom and Dad had gone to our workshop and had said they brought you in here to meet us. Tell me a little bit about, you used our student services, you work with our student services and mostly with Barbara.
Right.
Did you find that helpful?
It was definitely helpful for me. The biggest part was the organization of the entire admissions process. It was a help with getting my essays in on time, and submitting scores and just keeping organized while looking at my other friends who, actually, true story, that the day before the Common App was due, a lot of them just didn't come to school because they didn't finish their essays or whatever it was. So it was really a big help with my peace of mind with submitting my application, and also just keeping, I guess, calm throughout my senior year and making it a little bit less stressful than the people around me who were going crazy in front of me.
Yeah, and that's funny because I always tell that to prospective students. I always ask them if they're sophomores or juniors, do you have any friends that are seniors? And what are you watching them go through that you would like to avoid in the future? So yeah, our whole purpose here for Mom, Dad, for you, is always to minimize stress, time, and money. Those are my 3 goals with every family: to make this less stressful, take up less of your time, and to save you money. So that's pretty cool. So I'm glad you were able to take advantage. When you first started, again, Georgia Tech was one of the first schools on your radar.
Yeah.
Some of your other schools that were on your radar were?
I was looking at MIT, University of Michigan, initially Caltech, but because of its size, I didn't really, I wasn't attracted to it too much. Another one that comes to mind is Vanderbilt, too.
Okay, and then we also have an Ivy. There was Harvard, I believe, also that was in your
Yeah.
mix.
Harvard, the Ivies were Harvard, Columbia. Were those it?
MIT. Well, not MIT.
Yeah, I think it was just Harvard and Columbia,
Yeah,
the 2
'cause-
Ivies that I applied to.
Right, and you got into most of the schools that you applied to.
Yeah, 7 out of the 9.
7 out of 9, not too bad. We won't mention the 2 we didn't. And then how did you decide on Stanford? Because Stanford, you know, was all the way over to the left.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for Stanford is not only the academic prestige, of course, is always there, but I like the academic freedom that they give at Stanford, where what a lot of people don't know is that it's institutional admission, so you can take classes from any college you want to. You're not restricted to, like myself, to the engineering school or anything like that. So I think that was the biggest part for me, and also the climate is probably the best of any college in the nation.
All right, very cool. And we turned down schools like Harvard and Columbia, and
Vanderbilt,
so
yeah.
yeah. All right, we turned down a lot of schools that kids would kill to get into.
Yeah.
So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm glad we were able to be a part of this for you, and like I say, I thank you because we can't do this without you. And that's why we say the better the student, the better the opportunities, and we love seeing your success and being part of hopefully making your dreams come true. So I appreciate you and your family, and thank you for all this, and we're still with you until you graduate and have a job and a career. So we're here still to be your support. This isn't the end of what we do. This is just the culmination of a lot of hard work and heavy lifting by Mom and Dad to make all this possible. But now this is the beginning of your future. And we hope to be a part of that as well.
Definitely, and it feels like a good start.
All right, and when you're home from school, occasionally when you do come back 3,000 miles, stop in. So we'll keep you on track and keep here. And if you need stuff, you do that over the phone or emails.
Yeah.
All right, congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.